We've addressed the idea of handling conflicts in previous, at least one, maybe more previous videos in this series. And we may do it again in the future because I think this is a really important topic. I know when I was the main worship leader at our church, it was the thing that was perhaps the most challenging in the whole role as a worship leader is dealing with conflicts. It was something I really didn't want to do, and I don't think there's a lot of people that really like this idea. And so we'll talk about this more than once as we go through here. And today I'm going to have two different people, Dave Helmuth and Wanda Kuntz, both talk about this idea. And I'll be honest, I don't think there's a lot of really great, okay, here's what you do in this situation kind of practical stuff in here, but they both say something that's very similar, even though they come at it from very different perspectives. And I want us to cue in on that at the end. And so take a look at what they've got to say.
I expect it. I expect us to get into conflict. I'm not freaked out by it. I expect us to get into conflict. I'm not freaked out by it. I can't do the thing that some people do, like I handle things by not handling them. That's my method of, I can't ignore it. I have to address it because the team's not going to function properly, because God's not going to be honored. God's not going to be able to do the things that he wants to get done through this team if there's that strife. The idea is, can I help you to walk in somebody else's shoes for a second and see it from their perspective first, before and your thing's going to get addressed. I mean, this is what I do with my kids. Like, I've got 6, so conflict resolution is like daily, hourly sometimes. It's like, listen, like, wasn't okay that he hit you. What did you do? Like, let's talk through this. Do you see how in this moment here you didn't honor what he was doing, or you hurt his feelings, and this is why he, did that? Like, we have to walk through it with them and talk through it with them, and they might have the maturity to do that on their own, and they might not. I mean, there's a reason why there's conflict.
I think number one is to listen, to fully listen, and not to suddenly react. Maybe defensively react, but to fully hear what they have to say. And that might mean asking more questions, just trying to get to the bottom of whatever it is. We have run into, interestingly, the last couple of years, political discussions, like right before worship, or right before rehearsal begins. And I immediately get us off of that topic. We can't be talking about that and concentrating, and listening to God, freeing ourselves of those things that could distract us. So, conflict can be a tricky thing, and to really respect the person that says something, or just to find out what it is, the root of it, I think is important. And it takes a lot of patience. It also, you have to be aware of time, especially if it happens during rehearsal, maybe to table it until after church, and then make it a point to go to that person and talk to them right after church, so that they know it's important to you.
All right, so I wanted us to think back about some of the things that were said. I love Dave Helmuth's comment at the beginning where he says, I expect it. We shouldn't see conflict as something that's so unusual, so crazy, so outlandish that we were blindsided by it. No, Dave says, I expect that it's going to happen. It's just human nature. We have this sinful part of us, and we're going to deal with it. So we need, especially as leaders, we need to recognize that. But I did really like what he said when he talked about how the team isn't going to function as well if we let it go on, and God's not going to be honored. Those are great reasons for us to step in and help resolve conflict that's going on. And then he talked about helping each person to see it from the other's perspective, which I think is a great idea that he obviously does with his kids, but it's also a great idea in the worship ministry arena. And Wanda said something kind of similar when she talked about seeing from the other person's perspective of questioning, of listening, of really hearing what that person is saying and making sure that you really are getting what they're saying. Okay, so all of that, great stuff. But both of them made a similar kind of statement. Dave said, I can't handle it by not handling it. I can't just let it go. And Wanda said the same thing, that I need to address it. I think that's to me, the biggest takeaway, some practical stuff of how to do that, but recognizing the fact that as leadership, we have a responsibility to step in and handle conflict when necessary. I don't want to, I don't like that, and yet it's part of my role as a leader. And so I can't just let it fester, I have to deal with it. And I would suggest that if we really understand the gospel, it is a gospel first and foremost of reconciliation. Jesus died on the cross to reconcile us to the Father, but also according to Ephesians 2, he died to reconcile us to one another. It talks about Jews and Gentiles, they're two opposite extremes, and he's bringing them together. So the gospel is a gospel of reconciliation, and if we understand that, then handling conflict, we need to do that. We have to not just let it go, we need to see people reconciled. And so I want to challenge you and have you really consider today, if you've allowed things to just kind of go and they're festering beneath the surface, you need to deal with those things. There's some good ideas of how to do that, of helping hear from the other person's perspective, all of that. But first and foremost, I want us to understand that we do need to deal with it, because otherwise our team isn't going to function as well. God's not going to be honored. We need, as leaders, to step in and handle that conflict, do something about it. Don't just let it go.
Brought to you by myworshipleadingcoach.com.
Helping you to be more fully equipped as a worship leader.